Yeah.
Sports fans, we are live. Welcome to the Sports Behavior Podcast. I'm your host, OG the Beast. Here with me, as always, the legendary Chilltown 32. Unc, how you running today?
Hey, we in the house, B. Super Bowl Sunday, football. We got a lot to talk about today. A
We got
lot
a
to talk about.
whole lot to talk about. We had an interesting game, as y'all can see. I got my Jamar Chase jersey on. You know, that's my favorite player. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I got. If you know me, you know I got a man crush on Jamar Chase. Y'all know how I've been feeling about my man's. He had himself a decent game on Sunday. We got a whole lot to get into, man. Whole lot to get into. Shout out to the loyals over there on YouTube. Them guys been running it up in the comments. Let me see what they've been chirping about. You know, a couple of guys been chirping about some stuff in these comments over here on YouTube. I figure I'll let you know what Cats is saying. New Cat, shout out to Corey Harris, man. He said, I'm new to your podcast, and I'm absolutely in awe. He said, you dudes belong on SportsCenter. Appreciate you, Corey Harris.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
TK says, loyals on YouTube, let's get it. Liam says, love the show. Show a little bit of love from Boston to Boston, 8 straight wins. So, you know, Friday maybe we gonna talk about Boston. They breaking
About
the
to be
tail
nine.
off of
About to be nine. About to
yeah.
be nine straight tonight.
Yeah, they breaking the tail off of Philly right now, right?
Yep.
Sports TikTok says love from the UK. Bloody Richie says day one gang. Wolfgang says OG had enough, talking about you when you went off and had the little slip up. That was hilarious. I ran that back. I couldn't help but laugh at that. But shout out to the loyals on YouTube, man. If you haven't dropped us a follow, please hit that sub button. Drop a like if you're new to the channel. Y'all know every Tuesday. Well, this probably going to be the last Tuesday show for a little while. We're going to take a little break from the Tuesday shows. Football is over with, sad to say. We're going to take a little break from the Tuesday shows, but we still going to bring it to y'all live every Friday night, 8 p.m. Majority basketball. We might throw a little football in there from time to time, whatever the case may be. We just going to let it flow. You know how we do on Barbershop Fridays. Today is Tuesday, though. Drop that like button. Hit that sub button on YouTube. Let's holler at these loyals in the chat today. Six Guy, copy that. Johnson, what's popping? How you feeling? Diesel, what's going on, man? How y'all feeling today? TC Smooth, what's popping? All laughs. Appreciate the 3 month. Appreciate the 3 month gifted sub. I appreciate you. But yeah, this game this weekend is something that needs to be discussed. Right? A lot of turning points in this game. This game was better than a lot of people anticipated. The final score was 20-23. It was a 3-point game, close games. Usually, more times than not, Super Bowl Sunday results in a blowout, right? I think back to the older Super Bowls in the past decade or so, you know, before the last maybe 5 to 6 years, you know, the comeback in Atlanta, the Patriots, everything was pretty much a blowout. It was a wipeout. Wasn't close. But these last few years, the games have been coming down to one possession, final possession. From the Patriots against the Eagles to the Falcons against the Patriots and the Rams against the Patriots. They was all like one possession games. This was another one. 20-23. Came down to basically could Joe Burrow march at the end of the game and either get the tying field goal or the go-ahead touchdown. So as spectacular of a game this was, I want to ask you a simple question. It should be simple, but it might need a complex explanation. What do you think, by the way that the Rams won this game, was the turning point in this game that basically gave the game to the Rams?
It's interesting you mentioned that because I just saw a back and forth game. I didn't really see anything. No, at no point did I feel like Joe Burrow had control of this game. There were times when he could have taken control of the game, but I didn't feel like at any point this happened and he had control of the game. He had plenty of opportunity to take control of the game. So when Matt Stafford throws that interception in the end zone, so now we got our turnover. All right, so now we have to take advantage of that. Then Matt Stafford throws another pick. When he throws that other pick, we're in the red zone. So now we got another opportunity to take advantage, and we don't. So we're in the red zone 4 times, only come up with 1 touchdown. That's not going to get it done. When I think about the turning point of the game, I can't really think of anything specific. What I do know, I know that damn Aaron Donald, I know that he put pressure. He gave these guys everything that they was looking for
No doubt about that.
To come up would have stopped on 3rd and 1 when they were moving the football. And on top of that, 2 of the 3, they had 3 of them, 3 4th down stops. 2 of their 3 4th down stops was Aaron Donald. 2 of them were. So that's huge on that part. What I didn't appreciate when I was watching this was, and I said this to you before the Super Bowl, I thought that Joe Mixon was going to be the difference in this game, and they didn't give him the ball nearly as much. We're talking about a dude, 15 rushes, 72 yards. Beast, I don't know how your math works. That's 30 rushes for over 150 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. That's going to open up the entire offense. Feed him.
I don't understand that. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around why Taylor decided to go with Pirine in this pivotal game. Mixon been toting the rock for you all season long. Nothing short of spectacular. And you go with Pirine in the most pivotal parts of the game?
Almost 1,300 yards for the season. And with him running the ball like he was doing, he opened up so much more time for Joe Burrow. And I specifically said this to you about play action and draw plays. That was going to be the difference because of that pass rush. How they come in where we can get right past them with draw plays. And they were doing that, and it was working. And then they went away from it, and they started to give Joe Burrow the ball more and have him throwing the ball more. Now, I can appreciate giving it to T. Higgins because T. Higgins, him getting matched up on Ramsey. They did go after Ramsey. I was surprised at that. But going after him and getting the ball to your man Chase, who I already know that you got a man crush on him, and I kind of dig him too. Absolutely. I'm not going to fight that. But with that being said, I thought that to start that, they should have stuck with the run and continued to do it. Because we're talking about a guy, Joe Mixon, who's getting 4 or 5 yards a carry. You know what that tells me? At some point, he's going to bust one.
Yeah.
At some point, he's going to bust one. And I don't mean bust one for 10 or 12 yards. I'm talking about he's going to bust one for 25, 30, 40 yards. So stick with him. And I don't think that they did that. But to answer your question, there was nothing specific that I saw. I just saw a back and forth. And I saw an opportunity to take control of the game, but I didn't see an opportunity. I didn't see them taking control of the game. Either Matt Stafford or Joe Burrow.
To be honest with you, I agree with that assessment. I do think it was a back-and-forth game, and it was for the taking. I believe the Rams took the game over in the fourth quarter, but I do think there was 2 turning points in this game for me. Turning point number 1 was Tyler Boyd dropping the ball on 3rd down in the 3rd quarter, right? I feel like
does he get that first down? Let me ask you. I'm glad you mentioned that. Does he get that first down because he was short?
I believe he gets that first down, or that it entices them to at least want to go for it in this situation, right? You have an opportunity to take control over the game. So, I believe that puts them in position. It just hit his hands and he drops it, and now they got to punt. Now they got to punt on 4th. So I believe that was one of the turning points of the game that gave the Rams an opportunity to capitalize, which they ended up doing. And the second turning point of the game was this was a no-flag game the entire way. No flags was being thrown the entire way. They was letting them be chippy. Shout out to the wide receivers for the Cincinnati Bengals. Outside of that Tyler Boyd drop, they pretty much played a great game. They got some tough corners out there, tough responsibilities. Jalen Ramsey struggled in this one. Outside of the T. Higgins offensive pass interference, which I think should have been definitely called because it was offensive pass interference right out the gate in the second half. 75-yard touchdown to T. Higgins. Mm-hmm. He definitely tugged his face mask. But
yeah, can't believe that.
The second turning point in this game was that pass interference called by 55, Wilson, that linebacker on Cooper Kupp, right? I think if that call is not made, which is similar play that they've played throughout the entirety of the game, you decide to throw that flag at this juncture in the fourth quarter, 2 minutes left on the clock, you decide to throw this flag at this point in time. The only penalties that was being tossed was a few false starts. They had a penalty on both sides. Stuff. Yeah,
a lot of procedural stuff.
They had a penalty on both. It was nothing big because let's face it, the part of the reason why the Cincinnati Bengals was here to begin with is because they were the least penalized team in the National Football League. Very disciplined, which falls on the coaching. So shout out to Taylor for that. But I feel like Taylor got out coached in the second half of this game. He tried to get too cute instead of just doing what got you here. Run the football. You're not down by a lot. run the football with Joe Mixon. That Wilson pass interference call, it really wasn't enough to warrant a pass interference, in my opinion. I think they could have let that go, and that would have led to fourth down. Would they have gone for it? Yes, they had to in that situation. They were down.
3
They
points
needed
wasn't
6
enough.
points. No question
Yeah, 3
about it.
wasn't enough.
But the question is, does Matthew Stafford convert on 4th and goal in that position? It's tough. The hardest place to score in the National Football League is in the red zone. So they were in the red zone on 4th and it would have been 4th and goal. Then the outcome could have been completely different. An incomplete pass, that's ball game. Cincinnati wins.
Yeah.
So that flag in that moment, I believe, was the turning point in the game. Then they have a pass interference call that puts the ball at the 1-yard line, and then they throw the fade route to Cooper Kupp that essentially is the nail in the coffin. So
I tell you though, man, when I look at the stuff that happened in the game, and like I said, I didn't really see one thing in particular, but I think that what got downplayed was when OBJ went down. That completely changed the dynamic of their offense. Completely. Because they looked like Matt Stafford looked like, this is my guy today.
Just look at what happened. Just look at what happened when OBJ went down. Matt Stafford's second interception was off the hands of the guy that was replacing OBJ. If that was Odell, he would have caught it.
Absolutely. So when I look at exactly what they were doing, it looked to me like he looked like OBJ was his guy. Even though Cooper Kupp is the guy, we all know that, he looked to me like he was looking for OBJ on the regular. When OBJ went out, he goes 9 for 17, 86 yards. He threw both of them interceptions after OBJ went out, by the way. Let's make sure we remember that. After OBJ went out, he threw both of those interceptions. That was a big turning point in the game with a 28 QBR after OBJ went out. That was huge, man. And I was trying to figure out which way that they were going to go because how integral OBJ was to what they were doing at that point. So that doesn't go without mentioning OBJ getting hurt.
Yeah, that's OBJ getting hurt, I think, is an understatement because he means so much to this team. So if anybody had any doubts about whether or not he could be a team player, whether or not this guy can show up and show out on the biggest stage, because that was a knock on Odell. You know, he had the little stint in New York where, you know, the banana boat crew, you know, they all, you know, hopped on a boat and went wherever they went, vacation on the first playoff game of his career. And people frowned upon that. It felt like you were celebrating a little bit too early and you're not in a position to do that, young fella. So pump your brakes. But, you know, he showed up and he showed out in this game. And I do believe that if he stayed healthy and he did not tear his ACL, it might have been his MVP, his Super Bowl MVP to lose instead of Cooper Kupp's because he was going through a thing. I tell you, Odell Beckham was going through it. But the force, let's talk about Matthew Stafford for a minute because a lot of people have been coming at my head for calling Matthew Stafford an elite quarterback on TikTok. I just want to set the record straight. What makes an elite quarterback is somebody whose number can be called at any juncture and they figure out a way to get it done, even through controversy, right? Some guys, to use the NBA as an example, some guys could be 2 for 14 at a point where the game's still close, at a point where the game needs to be taken over. And they could still find a way to take that game over because they got ice in their veins. Some people just arise in certain situations unlike others, and we call those guys special players, closers, right? Matthew Stafford, to me, is arguably one of the greatest closers of all time. Since he's been in the league, he has the most fourth-quarter comebacks. And you could attribute that to him always being behind, playing from behind while in Detroit. That plays a factor into it. But at the end of the day, you still got to come out here and get the job done. He was put in this position in the biggest game of his career, on the biggest stage, against a big opponent, and he delivered. So no Matthew Stafford disrespect will be tolerated, at least in front of my presence, because I damn sure will put you in your place. But with all that being said, the question that I want to ask you, Unc, is do you think Matthew Stafford has done enough in his career at 34 years old to be inducted into the football Hall of Fame? What you think? You think he's a Hall of Famer or no?
I think he is going to the Hall of Fame. I don't think that he is a Hall of Famer. but I think that he is going to the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. Because when I look at his numbers, so he's in the top 15. I think he's 12th right now, all time in yards. Um, I think he's fourth. I think he's got uh, fourth quarter comebacks. That's the most in the since he's been in the league. Nobody else has done that more than him. All right, so I think he's in the top. He's in between John Elway and Fran Tarkenton in touchdowns.
Those are some
Man,
dogs.
and he got a Super Bowl and a Super Bowl MVP. Now, here's the flip side to that. You and I talk all the time about basketball and about being elite, and you know how I feel about all league performers. You know how I feel about all league defenders. These are the things that make you elite. So the problem that I have with Matt Stafford, even though I think he's going to the Hall of Fame, the problem that I have with him is zero. Count them, zero All Pros. Not one time did he make the All Pro team in 13 years. Not once. One time he made the Pro Bowl, and that one time was in 2014. And that was the year that they made the playoffs, and he had the most attempts that year. That was the only time that he made the Pro Bowl. One time, right? At no point, when I think about Matt Stafford, even though he was in Detroit, right? Even though he was in Detroit, at no point over the last decade, we are in 2022 right now. If I rewind the clock back to let's say 2011, so from 2011 to 2020, at no point can I say Matt Stafford was a top 5 quarterback in the league. Can I say he was a top 10 quarterback? You can make that argument.
Yep.
Absolutely, you can make that argument that he's a top 10 quarterback. But when I think about elite quarterbacks, I think about the top 5 quarterbacks. Now, was Matt Stafford elite? Well, if you're in the top 10 of 32, I suppose so. But with that being said, I still think that he's going to be a Hall of Famer strictly on the fact that his numbers are where they are. Now, is he better? I'm throwing the question back to you. When I think about him being a Hall of Famer, is he better than Eli Manning?
That's a great question. I do believe Matthew Stafford is better than Eli Manning, but I think the thing about Eli is those 2 Super Bowl wins and who it was against is going to dangle over this man's resume. It's like a lot of y'all couldn't do it. Tom Brady went to 10 Super Bowls. He only lost 2. He only lost 3. 2 of those 3 was because of me. I
What?
didn't let
I did it twice.
I did it
I didn't do it
twice.
once.
He only lost
Yes,
3
sir.
times. Twice
Mm-hmm.
to Eli, 1 to Nick Foles. Those are the only L's Tom Brady has taken in his entire career in the biggest game. Eli's responsible for 2 of his 3 L's. That alone, and plus the historic run that he had, that alone, and the expectation wasn't there, but the fact that he was able to persevere and beat the greatest of all time on the biggest stage, and
Not once.
that's twice. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's his nemesis. So it's like that's
Mm-hmm.
something that he could hang his hat on and say, look, just off the strength of that, I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But is Matthew Stafford more talented than Eli Manning? Definitely, 100%. But what I compare Matthew Stafford to.
Wait a minute. Oh. I ain't letting you go yet. Is he better than Matt Ryan?
Stafford? Yeah, I'd take Stafford over Matt Ryan.
And why are you taking him?
I would take Stafford over Matt Ryan. Like I say, this is just based on talent-wise. Matt Ryan's
That's
numbers.
it. That's all we talking about. Forget numbers. Take the
Matt
numbers
Ryan's
off.
numbers is outrageous. Matt Ryan's numbers is outrageous. So Matt Ryan gonna get in the Hall of Fame off the strength. You know what I'm saying? Plus, he's been to the big game, even though he lost it. You know, he's been to the big game. He's got an MVP, Offensive Player of the Year. He has those accolades, which is what Matt Stafford's missing. And that's why I believe at this juncture of his career right now, he's not a Hall of Famer. Like how I can say Matt Ryan is a Hall of Fame. He will make it to the Hall of Fame. Like I could say Eli Manning he's a lock for the Hall of Fame. Matt Stafford is not a lock for the Hall of Fame. But
No, he is not.
what he does have on his side is Kurt Warner. Now, Kurt Warner's got the side story. He's got the backstory. He's got the heartfelt, heartwarming, underdog come-up story. Stafford doesn't have that. He's a number 1 overall pick. A lot of people were expecting this guy to be great. But with him not having any accolades and Kurt Warner being an older guy, Kurt Warner's only he's only a 4-time Pro Bowler, right? Stafford can make that up. I think Stafford got at least another 6 years in him. I think Stafford can make that up.
You think he plays that long? At 34,
34,
by the way.
I think guys in this league right now, he's not getting sacked a lot. Guys in this league are playing to their late 30s, potentially early 40s. Tom Brady set the precedent, so I think a lot of guys are going to follow that. Aaron Rodgers will be 38 next year. Do he look like he need to retire? No. Rodgers like he could play another 4-5 years. Unless he just hits a cliff.
He just won the league
MVP at 37. He'll be 38 going into next season. So it's like these guys don't like Big Ben. It was a gradual decline. We saw him getting ass. It wasn't just boom, he woke up and he was garbage. Nah, Big Ben, we saw him getting ass. So it was a gradual decline. Some of these guys might just fall off a cliff one day. But like I say, I compare it to Kurt Warner, who's a Hall of Famer. But what Kurt Warner has on his side that I think Matthew Stafford can obtain is the MVPs. I can see Matthew Stafford limiting his turnovers next year, learning from his mistakes, realizing what's at stake and what they could potentially capitalize on it. What quarterbacks are in the NFC that are available to stop Matthew Stafford from reaching another Super Bowl? What quarterbacks do we have? Russell Wilson? Who else?
Kyler Murray.
Who else?
Let's see here. So if we go in the NFC East,
Aaron Rodgers, is he coming back to the Packers next year? So you got Rodgers, who's a choke artist in the playoffs. You named Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, who deleted his team off his Instagram and everything about him off his IG. We don't know what that situation is like. Is he ready here? I love Kyler, but is he ready here? What's the focus? So Kyler, who deleted everybody off his damn Instagram. You name me Aaron Rodgers, who's a choke artist in the playoffs, can't win when it matters. Immensely talented, but let's face it, can't win when it matters. Hasn't won since 2010, and since then he's 7-10 in the playoffs. So let's keep it a whole buck, right? Mm-hmm. So who else you got to worry about? Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson. I mean. Who is a real threat to Matthew Stafford?
Tom Brady already gone.
Brady's
gone.
Who's a legitimate threat?
Matt Ryan is on the other side. I think about it. I mean, when I think about
somebody
it,
said Trey Lance. Fist to say Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance. North Dakota State. I love me some Trey Lance. But I tell you like this here, he ain't messing with Matthew Stafford. So when you think about the best quarterbacks in the league right now, most of them are in the AFC, no doubt about it. So Matt Stafford has the potential to sharpen up his game with this offensive guru that he has for a head coach. He's young, talented. I think Stafford got another 5 years minimum in his game.
At this level?
At this level right here, 5 years. So if Matthew Stafford can keep this up in 5 years, the Rams win a bunch of regular season games. Stafford throws for 40 touchdowns, 5,000 yards, which is something he's done before in Detroit. He can do it again. No problem, right? If he could do that, somehow get an MVP, somehow make 3 All-Pros, 4 All-Pros in the next 5 to 6 seasons, 4-time Pro Bowler in the next 5 seasons, a league MVP, maybe win another championship, which is extremely possible. It's hard, but it's possible.
How though? We in year 13, B.
Everything
that you've seen from this dude, everything that you've seen from Matt Stafford, you're not getting any more. Now, I understand that he's on a more talented team. Absolutely. We don't know what's going to happen next season with OBJ. All right? We don't know what's going to happen with him. Cooper Kupp will be back, right? Cooper Kupp will be back. That defense, we don't know what's going to happen with them, right? Aaron Donald might not be back next season. Floyd's going to be back, I think. Von Miller's going to be back, but we don't know how they're going to be. So when we're talking about 3 more All-Pros, that's talking about a guy being at the top of the league as a quarterback. That means that those 4 guys that you mentioned just in the NFC alone, he better than all of them. Not to mention the guys in the AFC. We ain't even go into those guys yet. No. So over the next 5 years, right? Over the next 5 years, because I look at Matt Stafford, and I see him. I think he's better than Jared Goff. But I don't think it's like this more than it's like this.
I get where you coming
That's
from
what.
because that was my initial thought the minute the trade went through. Is really I'm sitting back thinking like, really, how much better is Matthew Stafford than Jared Goff? But I think Jared Goff doesn't get the fair shake that he deserves. I don't think Jared Goff is doo-doo. You know, I do think
Oh,
he can make
I think he can go.
costly mistakes at times, just like any other quarterback. So can Matthew Stafford. But I do think Stafford is more talented. Look, that no-look pass that this man made to Cooper Kupp on 2nd and 7 in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl during the biggest drive of his career. You got the gall to make a no-look pass because that's the shit. That's the shit that he had to do to complete
In all your
passes. They was
years,
blanking in Cooper Kupp.
in all your years of watching football, and I'm asking you this, in all your years of watching football, all the greats that you've seen, how many guys do you think can make that throw?
Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes. Look.
So that's it.
Patrick
Of all the
Mahomes
guys,
and Patrick Mahomes. Look, let me tell you something. A lot of people say, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers can make that throw." Man, I ain't seen Aaron. Listen, the person who invented the no-look pass, for those that really don't know, was Brett Favre. Brett Favre, to throw a no-look pass, you have to be a certain type of quarterback. You got to walk around with a certain type of confidence, a certain type of aura that oozes from your pores. That can't nobody rock with me out here. I'm the biggest, baddest mofo out here. Can't none of y'all touch me. You have to have that oozing through your veins. That's number one. Number two, you have to be a gunslinger. What are gunslingers known for being? Risk takers. Why do they call them gunslingers? Because these are quarterbacks that feel like they can fit the ball in any situation in any tight area. No pull. They don't pull punches. Gunslingers let it rip. I got a small window about this big. Crack of the door. I fit it through. If he don't make the catch, it's his fault. But what comes with the territory is interceptions, which is why Brett Favre has the most interceptions of all time. He was a gunslinger, the ultimate gunslinger. Who's a gunslinger when you think over the course of the last 20 seasons? When you think of gunslingers, I think of Aaron Rodgers. He's at the top, not Aaron Rodgers. He's a gunslinger too, but he's probably the most careful gunslinger of all time. I think of Brett Favre. He's a gunslinger. Eli Manning was a gunslinger. I think of guys like Steve McNair was a gunslinger. I think of guys like Matt Stafford is a gunslinger. Patrick Mahomes is a gunslinger. These are the guys I think of when I think of gunslinger mentality. Jay Cutler was a gunslinger. Gunslinger mentalities. Guys feel like they can fit the ball in tight areas, take a lot of risks, and they oozing with confidence. That's the aura that Matthew Stafford carries with him. To look a guy off. If y'all pay attention to that play, he looked the safety off, stared the tight end down, and threw the ball this way. That's the best. That's the best no-look pass I've ever seen in my life. In my life, it's better than any no-look Patrick Mahomes has ever thrown in his life.
And he threw him open too. Don't leave that part out. He threw him open too.
And it was a dot. It's incredible. It's incredible.
And
Matthew Stafford, Matthew Stafford, not even better than Matt Ryan. You tweaker. Come on, Peaky. Yeah, you smarter than that, man. Matthew Stafford is better than Matt Ryan ever could think about being. We know Matt Ryan got an MVP. That just opens the door for my notion that Matthew Stafford has a chance to improve his resume. I mentioned Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner is in the Hall of Fame, but Kurt Warner's accolades, he's only a two-time All-Pro. Kurt Warner is a one-time Super Bowl champion. He's got that checked off already. Kurt Warner was a four-time Pro Bowler. That's possible for Stafford to accomplish before he ends his career. That's why I illustrated the quarterbacks that's in the NFC. There are none. He can lock a Pro Bowl slot for the next 4 to 5 years. He's a two-time MVP. That's going to be tough. But I think if Matt Stafford can string together some wins with his team, average 40 touchdowns with the extra game, maybe throw for 5,000 yards again, he could get a league MVP if they win 14, 15 games. I could see that.
You're asking a lot. You're asking a lot because we're talking about a dude who threw for 41 touchdowns and 4,800 yards this season, right? So with that being said, the last time he did that was year 2, 10 years ago when he was in Detroit. That was the last time he threw for 41 touchdowns. He hasn't done that in 10 years. Now, does that mean that
with this roster?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Are we talking about over the next 5 years and the attrition that happens in the NFL where we have so much turnover with guys? It's very rare that you see the same unit coming back every year. where you don't, especially with Super
True.
Bowl champs, where you don't see major changes. And when I look at this Raider group, there's going to be some major changes on this roster. I'm sure of it. They're going to lose Whitmore, who's one of the best offensive linemen ever. So they're going to lose him, right? I think that they're going to. I don't think OBJ going to be back. I think he tore up that ACL, and I don't think he's going to play next season. So I don't think he's going to play next season. I think Cooper Kupp will be back. I think I don't think Cam Akers is going to be gone.
I think Odell's going to play next year.
Cam
Akers tore his Achilles in the training camp and came back in 6 months. That's a worse injury than the ACL. The way that these doctors are finding ways to repair these ligament tears and strengthening the muscles around this ligament and having these guys out here in faster times each and every time they do it, especially with Odell already tearing that knee again, tearing the same knee that he tore, even though he's had three major lower leg injuries in his career. I think Odell Beckham, he's a step ahead. He already knows what it takes to recover from this injury because he's been through it already. He already knows the process that he's going to have to do. Now he's just going to have to work harder. And I think, we got 7 months until NFL starts again. I think Odell could be back and better than ever within 6 to 7 months. I think he'll be ready. He might be ready for training camp, but I know for damn sure he'll be ready for the regular season. Now, mentally is the aspect more than it'll be physically, because I think physically he'll be good to go. And Odell got a chip on his shoulder. I got no fear in my heart. I got all the confidence to say that Odell Beckham is not done. He's not retiring. He's not done. There was rumors circulating that Odell could retire simply because of his bad luck with injuries. This is not an Andrew Luck situation. Odell Beckham will be back better than ever. You can believe that like you believe in Jesus. I got no doubt about that.
We can dead that because, as you know, you got your man crush on Jamar Chase. Frank Gore. I'm the president of the Frank Gore Club. Frank Gore tore his ACL twice. Probably the best running back in the history of my 49ers, right? Tore his ACL twice. So it's not a death sentence. This isn't 1975 where when you tore up your knee, it was over.
That's how Gale Sayers' career ended.
Yeah, it's so much different today. Technology is so much better, and we're talking about a guy in Cam Akers coming back. That's a year injury.
How long was Kevin Durant out?
A year and a half.
Same injury.
So this is what we're talking about here. So I don't think he's over. No, and anybody to say that he's over, I think you're completely wrong, and he's going to prove you wrong. He's not retiring.
Like I say, Matthew Stafford may not be a Hall of Fame quarterback right now, but I think he does have an opportunity to be that within the next 5 to 6 seasons if he were to sharpen up his resume. If Matthew Stafford was to get – I don't even think he need another ring. If Matt Stafford somehow finds a way to get an MVP, becomes at least a 3 to 4 time All-Pro and a 4 to 5 time Pro Bowler, I think he's in. No doubt about it. I'm not saying that's first ballot, but I do think he's in. Matt Stafford was the third quarterback in NFL history to win a Super Bowl his first year on a team. You know the other two quarterbacks?
On a new team.
On a new squad. First quarterback in NFL history, or third quarterback in NFL history to do that. First one was Tom Brady.
Yep.
He did it with the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
And Trent Dilfer did it with the Ravens.
Absolutely.
You know,
so when I look at – it's crazy that you mentioned that too, because when I look at what Matt Stafford is doing right now, and if he were to sharpen up his resume like you said, well, we're looking at a dude who he's at 48,000 yards right now. So you're talking about another 5 years. If he could give me another 5 years of just 2,500 yards, that's 60,000.
That's what I'm saying.
That's in the top 5 that's in the top 5 all time.
Right.
If he could just give me 2,500 yards over the next 5 years on average, that's over. We looking.
He's
at
going to double that. He's going to close to double that. That's the thing. So if he could accomplish all that and develop these accolades, I got I'm saying this with confidence. This man should, without a doubt, be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. No question. So
your logic is he still got he on his way to being there. He still got work to do.
Right. He still got work to do. But if he retired tomorrow, he's not a Hall of Famer. But with these guys playing into their early 40s, I think he he got a special opportunity to do something that can catapult him into the Hall of Fame. But this game was hellacious. I think the biggest mistake is Samaje Perine being in the game over Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon needed to tote the rock more. They went away from the run, put the ball in the hands of Joe Burrow. Burrow goes 22 for 33, 263 yards on a touchdown. He did not throw an interception, but Joe Burrow had a solid game. Matthew Stafford, 26 for 40, 283, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's probably the reason why he did not get the MVP, because of the 2 interceptions, right? One of them wasn't his fault. Off the hands of the guy that was replacing Odell Beckham. If Odell was in the game, he catches that pass. So point blank, period. The Van Jefferson interception, I didn't even have a problem with it. It was on 3rd down. It was basically a punt to begin with. If it was a Van Jefferson, go up and get it. Jesse Bates just made a hell of a play on the ball, and he intercepted it. They got the ball back at the 25-yard line anyway, which probably what would have happened, because the next play would have been 4th down. So I'm not mad at either one of those interceptions. None of those picks caused them the game, right? So none of those. That's why I didn't name those as the turning points in the game. None of those interceptions really caused them the game. So I think that had an impact on why Matthew Stafford did not get the MVP. But people were yelling at 2 other options that could have got it, but of course Cooper Kupp got it. People were saying Von Miller, actually Super Bowl 50 MVP. He could have got this MVP because his numbers was very similar to Aaron Donald's. They both had 2 sacks and 2 hits on the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So both of those guys played an outstanding game. It's just that Aaron Donald's happened at the most pivotal moments of the game. 3rd down, 4th down, he was shutting some shit down. The one-handed tackle on Samaje Perine, if that was anybody else, he probably if that was low-key, if that was Joe Mixon, I feel like he picks up that 4th down, even if Aaron Donald grabs him. Because I think Joe Mixon extends the ball. He makes a play because that's what he do. Been doing it since college. That's why I don't understand why Taylor has Samaje Perine in. Like, Joe Mixon can't catch the peel. Like, that, to me, was some of the dumbest shit in Super Bowl history I've ever seen. Outside of Bill Belichick benching Malcolm Butler, this right here, this stands.
Definitely.
Yeah, this stands on that podium. How do you go with Samaje Perine in the most important sequence? 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Y'all could not get 1 yard. Unfortunate for the Cincinnati Bengals, what we not talking about was the fact that he sent Jamar Chase on a go route on 4th and 1, and Ramsey slipped on the play. If Aaron Donald had just gotten there a second later, that could have went for 6, and the game was over.
6.
Jalen Ramsey slipped on the play, and Jamar Chase was wide open. Crazy to even think about it when you mention it, the sequence of events that went on in this game and how coaching played a huge factor in it. Mm-hmm. Just look at that end around, that slot, like kind of end around type half, like I don't know what it's called. It's like a pitch play that Patrick Mahomes runs all the time with Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman towards the goal line. That's the play that they ran with Cooper Kupp on
it's called the Philly Special. On 3rd, it's called the Philly Special.
Not that one. When Cooper Kupp came out of the slot and Matthew Stafford kind of like pitched it to him on that 3rd down play where he cut it up and got 7 yards.
Yeah, okay.
That's some shit that they probably should have did with like T. Higgins or Chase or something. Put him in position to pick up that. It was 2nd and 1. Why would you not run some shit like that or run it down their throat with your premier 1,300-yard running back? You did it with Samaje Perine.
That was on 4th down. That wasn't on 3rd down. That was on 4th down when he got that. When they did that. Yes, sir.
That was a fourth. Yeah, you're right. That was 4th and 1.
That was on 4th down. And with that all being said, when I look at what Aaron Donald did and I look at what he was doing defensively, my job as the DT, my job is to stop the run and to get to the quarterback. That's what I do. I'm a run stuffer, and I get to the quarterback. And he absolutely did that. Now, the thing that I didn't understand from a schematic standpoint, I didn't understand why the Cincinnati Bengals stopped running the football. I did not understand that. For the life of me, I didn't understand that because it was working, right? Even though Aaron, now we talking about a team, and we talking about a team in Los Angeles who got the second best run defense in the playoffs. But they were moving the football, right? They were moving the football, and we talking about a guy in Aaron Donald who's one of the best defensive tackles, if not the best defensive tackle in the game. And they were doing their thing. I mean, they got to Joe Burrow 7 times. I'm sorry, they sacked him 7 times. They got to him way more times than that. They got to him way more times than that. So he was getting to the football, but I couldn't understand from a schematic standpoint why they stopped running the football. And when I think about a guy who impacted them just defensively, when it was the most important, because that's what the MVP is about. The MVP is about.
So you trying to say Aaron Donald should have got the MVP over Cooper Kupp?
I'm trying to figure out why not. And the reason why I'm thinking that, because he came up with the 2 biggest plays in the game. The 2 biggest plays in the game. That stop on 3rd down. That's huge right there.
You don't think that's big? You don't think the catch in the end zone Cooper Kupp was a bigger play than that?
Well, how do we get down there? How do we get down there? We get down there by that defense doing what they were doing. Von Miller getting to the quarterback. Aaron Donald getting to the quarterback. He had 3 hits on Joe Burrow. Forget the 2 sacks. He also had 3 hits on him. So we don't get down there unless they get us that ball back, which is exactly what they did.
Okay. But in all fairness, right, this is what I think was the deciding factor, the determining factor in who won Super Bowl MVP. Level of difficulty. Coming into this game, everybody knew that defensive front would chew away at this bad offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I stated, Von Miller got the same stats as Aaron Donald. It's just Aaron Donald's came at a more pivotal point in the game. But the degree of difficulty, Odell Beckham goes out. Matthew Stafford is now out without Odell Beckham. He's without Tyler Higbee. He's without Robert Woods. All of these guys that are not in this game. Who does that favor more? LA Rams, right? Now, when Odell Beckham goes out of this game, and he was on pace to break some shit open before he went out, Cooper Kupp now goes from being blanketed to being bracketed and blanketed. And he still managed to get open. And Matthew Stafford having that trust in Cooper Kupp to make these throws in these pivotal situations while being blanketed, contested catches, 3rd down plays, 4th down plays, making these catches consistently, play in, play out. They carried the game down the stretch in the 4th quarter. He basically said, Coop, I'm going to you and you only. Get open. I trust you. And that's what the hell they did. So I think the degree of difficulty played a factor in who won the Super Bowl MVP. And Aaron Donald's job, Von Miller's job was far easier, let's be honest, than Cooper Kupp's job. This offensive line is one of the worst offensive lines in the league.
Right. And it is one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Yet they still were double teaming him. They tried to double team him. That's where the problem came in with Von Miller. When Von Miller was able to bull rush, and then they tried to double team Von Miller. That's what caused Aaron Donald to bull rush. Aaron Donald absolutely dominated offensive tackle number 77. His left tackle. He dominated him.
Got dominated.
He just dominated him the entire time. He was a
6th-round draft pick.
So. He ain't want nothing to do with Aaron Donald. He looking around like, y'all help me with this dude or not? Because I can't do nothing with him by myself. So, and they're looking at him like, I got Von Miller over here. What you think I'm going to do with you over there? I can't help you.
That's why the degree of difficulty was easier for Aaron Donald than it was for Cooper Kupp, who was seeing doubles and triple teams.
Well, actually, it wasn't, and here's why. Because not Jamar Chase. I'm sorry. When I look at Cooper Kupp, and when I look at what Cooper Kupp was doing, it was more than double teams. Then I'm just better than you. I'm gonna run this 8-yard hook, and whether you guys are doubling me or not, I'm getting open because I'm just better than you. Mm-hmm. This is not in terms of a degree of difficulty where I'm making great catches. No, I'm gonna beat you to the spot. I'm gonna plant my right foot, and I'm gonna run this route, and you can't do nothing about it.
And
nothing about it.
Stafford was just God damn. They were just on another level.
They was on the same page. Absolutely, they were.
Like they had a conversation. Like,
yeah, without talking. By the way, without talking,
man,
without even talking. But when I think about the plays that Aaron Donald came up with when he came up with them. I just think that those were just huge and they couldn't be matched. Because if we don't get that, if we don't get those plays, then we're not going. We're not going to do this. It's not happening.
Yeah. Like, speaking of Aaron Donald, there was conversation and rumors going around circulating that Aaron Donald may retire if he won this Super Bowl. Well, he won this Super Bowl. So I ask you this. It ain't came out yet. Aaron Donald ain't said nothing about retiring. In fact, he said he going to sit back. He going to think about it. Aaron Donald, what I want to ask is, where do you think Aaron Donald ranks all time? And is he a Hall of Famer if he retires today? Let me answer this first. When it comes to a guy like Aaron Donald, the moment I saw this guy, I said, he's different. He's special. Even to this day, when I go back and I watch some LT highlights or I watch games and just sit back, and just look at some shit and just evaluate certain players and how they played the game, how they impacted their teams, and how they made a difference. That's what I look for when I'm watching a game, especially an older game. Like when I go back and watch older Super Bowls, I say, what is this player doing that other players don't do? And how is he impacting the game for his team? And when is he impacting the game for his team? And when I think of Aaron Donald, like you just said, he's a guy that makes plays when plays need to happen. And not just feel like it's not very many of these guys that can do that on a consistent basis. This man is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. How many of those exist, OG? Well, there's J.J. Watt, T.J. Watt's brother. J.J. Watt has 3. LT has 3. And Aaron Donald has 3. That's it. That is it. Those are the only 3 players in NFL history with 3 Defensive Player of the Years. Aaron Donald is a 7-time All-Pro in 8 seasons. Let me repeat that. Aaron Donald is a 7-time All-Pro in 8 seasons. It's never been done in the history of the NFL. 7 consecutive All-Pros. It's never been done at that. On defense, right? I believe Joe Thomas was like a 9-time All-Pro in a row, consecutive. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. But
LT did it, but keep going.
LT did it?
Yeah, LT did it. Keep going.
LT, how many LT had?
8 times in 9 years LT did it, including being a first-team All-Pro as a rook. Yeah, but keep going, because what you talking about. Because I think you're shortchanging him. Like you just said, he's a 7-time All-Pro. Not just an All-Pro. First team All-Pro.
That may be what never happened.
Let's make sure we clear. Not just All-Pro. First team All-Pro.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we clear on that. So that's a big deal.
And Aaron Donald nearly has 100 sacks in 8 seasons. The record is 200 by Bruce Smith. And Bruce Smith nearly played 2 decades. Bruce Smith played like 18, 19 years. So if Aaron Donald at this pace as a defensive tackle, let me reiterate that to you. Defensive tackle. I want to know who's got the most sacks in NFL history as a defensive tackle. That's a great question because Aaron Donald's close to 100. Defensive tackles are not supposed to sack the quarterback as often as Aaron Donald does. Let me remind y'all that. And he's on pace to break Bruce Smith's record if he so decides to have a longer career. And I think he could do it in shorter time. They started keeping track of the sack record back in 1982, and I'm pretty sure there were guys before that probably should be top 5 in sacks. Guys like Deacon Jones didn't register all the sacks. It was a bunch of guys before 1982 that was sacking the hell out of the quarterback that probably should be on that list. But we talking about guys from 1982 and up. If Bruce Smith got 200 and Aaron Donald damn near got 108 seasons, I think that man could do something special. And I wouldn't be surprised if he decided to string together another 8 years, he could pass up Bruce Smith for the all-time sack leader as a defensive tackle. That's amazing.
So when I think about Aaron Donald, okay, so when I think about a guy, first team All-Pro 7 straight years, right? So we talking about a guy, like you just mentioned, 98 sacks in 8 seasons, all right? That's good for 40th all time, which doesn't really sound great, but let's make sure that we clear. All right, let's make sure that we 100% clear. 6 of the 8 seasons that he played pro football, double-digit sacks. 6 of the 8 seasons that he played, 6 of the 8 seasons. Not only that, led the league in sacks in 2018. Once again, you already mentioned that, right? You already mentioned that. The defensive tackle does not lead the league in sacks. No, he does not. Absolutely not. So to answer your question, well, who's the all-time sack leader for defensive tackle?
It
That would
just
be
said
Mr.
Alan
John Randall.
Page. Is it John Randall?
Actually, it's
Somebody
actually
just said
John Randall.
Alan Page got 148.
Well, we talking about a guy who exclusively plays defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John Randall for 9 seasons played defensive tackle, and after him, that would be Mr. Aaron Donald, because Alan Page, he also played defense. He didn't play defensive tackle his entire career. He got moved around. So Aaron Donald played defensive tackle his entire career. All right. So with that also being said, we're talking about a guy who my job is to get to the quarter. My job is to stop the run and to stop the run, get in the A gap, and get to the quarterback. Now, when I think about him as an all-time great defensive player, as a defensive tackle, I'm thinking about the great defensive tackles, John Randall, Warren Sapp. I think he's better than them. I absolutely believe that he's better than both of those guys. I don't think it's something that's like this, but I do think he's better than Warren Sapp. No question about it. In the 8 years, I do think that he's better than Warren Sapp. And Aaron Donald, in the 8 years that he played, he's played defensive tackle exclusively. He's not played defensive end. He did not play linebacker, any of those things. He plays defensive tackle the entire time. Whatsoever, nothing else, right?
In July, I actually went out on a limb and said Aaron Donald was the 5th greatest football player of all time. Now, I may have gone a little bit too far with that statement, but I put in quotations when his career is over with. But definitely, I believe Aaron Donald is a top 3 defender in NFL history, all time. Right. I do believe that with all my heart.
Now when I think about defensive players, I never seen anybody just like how you are with Jordan, right? Exactly how you are with Jordan. That's how I am with Lawrence Taylor. I never seen anybody affect anybody's offense the way Lawrence Taylor did. Yeah. Never seen anybody throw a monkey wrench in everything that you're doing offensively like Lawrence Taylor did. And we're just talking about from the linebacker position where he's dropping back in coverage. He's rushing your quarterback. He's stuffing the run, right? He's stopping tight ends. I never seen anybody who you have to completely scheme your offense around one guy. I've never seen that before in Lawrence Taylor. So you're going to have a really tough time. You're going to have a really tough time selling me that Aaron Donald is the best defensive player of all time. Now, when I talk about a pass rusher, once again, how you feel about Jordan, that's the same way I feel about Reggie White when it comes to a pass rusher. He's the first guy that I've ever seen in my life. Whenever you hear guys say stuff like, I can get to the quarterback whenever I feel like it. I really felt like that with him. If I want to get to the quarterback, every time I could do it, and there's nothing, you can put whoever you want to put in front of me. I get to the quarterback whenever I feel like it. And I've never seen a pass rusher like that ever in my life. So when I think about great defensive players, that's how they affect the game, right? And Aaron Donald does that. I'm not going to fight that. Absolutely not. I'm not going to fight that. But I also understand what his logic is when he's talking about retiring. Beast, I'm 30 years old, man. You know what I'd like? I'd like to be able to, when I'm 42, I'd like to be able to leave my house, and in an hour, I still know where I live.
Right.
I'd like to, when I'm 48 years old, I don't want to put a gun in my mouth and blow my brains out. Why? Because I'm doped up all the time because I'm in pain constantly. I don't want to do that. And on top of that, I got a beautiful wife, I got a beautiful family, and there's other things that I like to do besides football. So I can definitely get with his logic about wanting to quit. I have no problem with that at all.
100%, man. Well said. Well said by you, because when you think about it like that, everybody thinks about it when guys mention retirement, everybody thinks about it from a sports aspect. You know, nobody really thinks about what's going on in somebody's personal life and how they think about potential injuries in the game and family. That shit weighs heavy, because I think that was the deciding factor in Tom Brady retiring. So it could be the same thing. Guys play 8 to 10 years. Aaron Donald's made a boatload of money. You know, I think he can make find another career outside of the NFL, enjoy himself for a few years, seek another career, and make a whole nother boatload of cash. So I don't put nothing past Aaron Donald. He's immensely talented. And if he were to retire today, I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer. But the thing that goes against it is, I mentioned this to one of my boys. Sterling Sharp had a short career too. He's still not in the Hall of Fame. But in all defense to Sterling Sharp, he didn't have the resume that Aaron Donald has with the All-Pros and with the 3 Defensive Player of the Years and all of that. So if Aaron Donald was to retire right now, I do think, without a doubt in my heart, that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, even in 8 seasons.
I can get with that. Mm-hmm.
One thing that I wanted to mention was the Super Bowl MVP went to Cooper Kupp. We talked about that earlier. Some felt like Matthew Stafford potentially could have got it. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, it was up for grabs, but Cooper Kupp inevitably snagged it. He goes 8 for 92 with 2 touchdowns, 2 pivotal touchdowns. Shout out to Cooper Kupp, man. So the conversation has been shuffling around. It's been shuffling around over the past few months, but now it's really ramped up. Where does Cooper Kupp rank amongst wide receivers in the NFL, considering he is a slot receiver? Cooper Kupp does not play in the X, right? And dogs play on the outside. Y'all know how I feel about it. Dogs play on the outside. This is why I never had Julian Edelman in my top 5, never had Wes Welker in my top 5, never had Brandon Stokely in my top 5, never had Alex Gonzalez in my top 5. None of these premier slot receivers never made my top 5 because dogs play on the outside. But when you got a guy like Cooper Kupp that is shattering the mold, breaking all the laws, playing the Z spot, breaking all the laws, triple crown from the slot. Now, the reason why people say what they say about Cooper Kupp is because we all know the perks that comes with playing in the slot. More times than not, you got a mismatch. You either got a linebacker on you or a nickel corner on you. So, and the Los Angeles Rams, if I'm not mistaken, led the league in 11 personnel, right? 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. So they led the league in running that formation, specifically because of Cooper Kupp. They want to make sure they keep him in a position to exploit the defense. So he's either got a nickel corner on him, he's got a linebacker on him, exploiting the defense in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Also, he's getting a free release off the line of scrimmage. These guys that's playing the X, they can't say that. That is why I always say dogs play on the outside. They playing outside of the numbers. They getting pressed. They getting slapped. They getting hit. The routes got to be shorter. You know, these corners can play inside leverage on you, and you trying to run an in route is going to be hard to run these digs. It's hard. Everything is harder on the outside. That is why it was so hard over the years for me to give Cooper any slot receiver the nod. But what Cooper Kupp has done in this slot, he's revolutionized the position. Triple Crown winner, Offensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl MVP, all in the same season. It's never been done, right? He's doing things at an all-time level. So my question was, where does he rank amongst wide receivers? To me, Cooper Kupp is most definitely a top 5 wide receiver. Actually, he might just be top 3. What say you, Unc?
That's what I was getting ready to ask you. So that was my next question to you. Name 4 wide receivers that you're putting in front of him right now. Because I'm thinking about the 4 that, and I'm having a difficult time. I think that D-Hop, when he's healthy, I think that I would go with D-Hop because I think D-Hop got better hands. I think D-Hop is a better route runner, right? I think D-Hop is a better big play wide receiver. When I look at Tay Adams, I think Tay Adams in the long ball. Yeah, I think the Tay Adams in the long ball.
You want to hear a hot take? Here's a hot take. Devontae Adams is so good. I think he's better. He's a better complete receiver than Randy Moss. A lot of people consider Randy Moss as a top 3 wide receiver of all time, and I'm not doubting that. I think he's 3rd. But I think Tay Adams is a better wide receiver than Randy Moss.
So you're more complete. And you, like in the words of my nephew over here, I like spicy. He likes spicy. Okay.
That's spicy. I like spicy.
He likes spicy.
If I got to choose between 2, I'm taking Tay Adams over Randy Moss simply because Randy Moss was one-dimensional. He was hellacious at that dimension. But what about if it's 3rd and 6? I need a catch. Can I go to Randy or should I go to Tay Adams? What if I need to run this 5-yard dig or this 5-yard in, this 5-yard out? What if I needed somebody to run an up and out, a wheel route? What if I needed somebody to run a 7 route, a bang 8? What if I needed those things? Who you going to run all of that shit? You going to Tay Adams or you going to Randy Moss? Now, Randy Moss, if I need somebody to run a 9 route, I'm going to Randy Moss, right? But let's not act like Tay Adams is a slouch at running that 9 route too. Let's not act like Tay Adams ain't got some of the best hands you've ever seen. Let's not act like Tay Adams ain't got some of the best route running you've ever seen. Made the greatest route runner of all time shed tears watching him run routes. Let's not act like Tay Adams can't catch these contested Chris Carter type, Megatron type catches. Tay Adams is a all-time great when it comes to skill set. And if I had a choice to choose Tay Adams or Randy Moss, I'm taking Davante Adams as a complete wide receiver.
Now, number one, I'm gonna start with, you know how I feel about the complete player. I'm a huge fan of the complete player more than the specialist. I'm a huge fan of that. However, when I look at a guy like Cooper Kupp, who you talk about lines up in the slot, I line up on the edge too. In fact, not only do I line up on the edge, they run a lot of stuff for me on the edge. That's how I end up in great slant routes and taking the slant from 5 yards to 25 yards. There's a reason why they line me up on the outside. When I run that 9 route, when I got, Diggs on me, and I know he can't cover me, so I'm whistling over to Matt Stafford like, yo, look who covering me. Right. Yeah. So you know what time it is over here. Not to mention what we completely leaving out with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp ain't no little dude like Wes Welker. He's not no little dude like any of these other dudes. Cooper Kupp is a bit of 6'2", 200 pounds. Yeah. Right? So he causes problems for these little cornerbacks, these 5'10", 5'11", 180-pound cornerbacks. Don't think that you're going to come to the line of scrimmage punching me in my face, because it's not happening. Absolutely not.
Real talk.
Now, when I think about Randy Moss, who is the most talented wide receiver that I have ever seen. There is not one that I have seen that is more talented. And I'm going to run this down to you real quick. Randy had the most talent. Randy had the most talent. Megatron was the most dominant. T.O. worked the hardest. Jerry Rice was the most skilled and the smartest. That's the difference.
I think Rice was the smartest, and he worked the hardest, right? Because he wasn't the quickest, wasn't the fastest, didn't have the best hands in the world. His hands was great, but he had the intangibles. So when you come to talented, that's when you bring in T.O. Because even though T.O. did drop a lot of passes, he still had great hands, great route running ability, great physicality, great point of attack. T.O. was the one that had the talent. Randy Moss was really, really reliant on his freakish athletic ability. He's a Russell Westbrook. That's who Randy Moss is. He's extremely athletic, and he was reliant on that athleticism. We can't say that for somebody like Marvin Harrison, for somebody like Tay Adams, right, who has the athleticism but isn't relying on it because I can beat you in multiple ways. We cannot say that for Randy. Randy not only took plays off, he was one-dimensional as hell, albeit that dimension, he was all-time great at it, right? One-dimensional, took plays off, arguably one of the fastest, True Harold said fastest, arguably one of the fastest players we've ever seen. That leans towards his athleticism, right? He had great hands, yes. The point of attack, great catching ability at the point of attack, yes. We get all of that. But when it comes to everything that comes with being a wide receiver, did Randy block? Hell no. He took plays off. When it was time to run the ball, Randy didn't get his nose in there like T.O. did. He don't stick his nose in there like Tay Adams do, like Cooper Kupp does. The reason why Cooper Kupp was able to get that touchdown off that play action was simply because of his blocking ability. He charged at the linebacker like he was about to block and just slipped right through, and he's wide open.
We also have what's called the Randy ratio as well. Nobody else was doing that. That means that I got plays for you, and then I got a separate amount of plays for this dude right here that we run.
That's just because he was fast. He was just fast.
No, it wasn't just
and he could jump high. What was his nickname? The Freak. That's because that's what he was. He was a freak of nature. Randy Moss
Now,
was not skilled. He was just a freak of nature that could run fast, jump high. That's it.
I
Skill
will
is
tell you
T.O. Skill is Chad Johnson. Skill is Marvin Harrison. Skill is Steve Smith. Skill is Chris Carter, the guy that was next to Randy. That's Jerry Rice. That's skill. Guys that wasn't reliant on their athletic abilities. Guys that just, hey, Steve Largent, that's skill. Guys that's just like, you know what? I'm not the fastest guy out here. I'm not the quickest guy out here, but you not going to out-muscle me. You not going to outwork me. You going to catch this fade on this route. Those guys was crispy. Randy ain't got that. He was just so much physically gifted than everybody else that it just looked appalling when you watched it. Great player to watch, but when it comes to skill set, give me Tate.
And it's crazy that you mentioned skill set, because when I think about Cooper Kupp, I just want to run down something for you real quick. Cooper Kupp this season, number 1 in receptions, 145, number 1 in yards, almost 2,000, number 1 in touchdowns, 16, number 1 in yards per game in the playoffs. Number 1, almost 115. Jerry Rice won the Triple Crown, 100 receptions, 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, 93 yards a game. Not close. Oh, by the way, Cooper Kupp also led the league in yards per game in the playoffs and in the regular season and in the playoffs.
And he broke the record for most catches in the playoffs.
So we got 4 guys in the history of the NFL who've won the Triple Crown. It's Jerry Rice, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Rice,
Steve
Cooper Kupp,
Smith, Steve Smith, Don Hudson,
and so that's Sharp. 5, and Sterling Sharp. So we got 5 guys, and none of them dudes was close in terms of numbers. None of them dudes was close to what Cooper Kupp did. None of them. So when I think about what Cooper Kupp did this season overall, and coming into this season, I did not have Cooper Kupp as a top 5, even a top 10 wide receiver. And the reason why I didn't is because the consistency wasn't there. So last year, he has a little under 1,000 yards. This year he has 1,000 more yards than he did last year. I'm trying to figure out a wide receiver who has done that. The year before that, he gets 1,000, has 1,100 yards. He goes 1,100, then regresses, and then basically doubles what he did the year before. So I'm thinking, wait a minute.
The year Cooper Kupp had 1,100 yards, I went on TikTok and I was like, it was a TikTok questionnaire where I duetted it. I'm still trying to find that video because I want to repost it. But this was 2020, I think. Somebody asked in the questionnaire, who's the most underrated receiver in the league? And my answer was Cooper Kupp. This was before anybody was talking about him, before he popped off and any of that. Because I saw the talent and I knew it was there. Did I see it to this level? Hell no. I don't think anybody did. But I saw his ability. I'm like, this motherfucker can play, man. Cooper Kupp, man, watch out.
Almost 500 yards in the playoffs, right? 33 receptions, almost 500 yards in the playoffs, 120 yards per game in the playoffs. Yeah. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And like I said, I did not have him in the top 10 this season because the level of consistency wasn't there. You and me had this conversation before. When I look at guys who there's a reason why I think Giannis is the best player in the game. Well, why you think that, Look at Kevin Durant. Look at this dude. Because Giannis was doing this and he was on his way to becoming what he became. Well, Cooper Kupp didn't show me that he was on his way to becoming the best wide receiver in the game. Devontae Adams showed me that. Hopkins showed me that. Diggs showed me that. DK Metcalf showed me. These guys showed me the level of consistency that they on their way to being that guy. So there was no reason for me to think seeing Cooper Kupp last year, seeing him the year before when they went to the bowl game when he had Jared Goff, that, this dude's going to be the best wideout in the game one day. I didn't see that, but I'll tell you what I saw this season, I absolutely got to have him in that conversation as the best wideout in the game. I have to.
He's in that conversation to me. I think he's in the top 5, arguably top 3. But that's a debate that we're going to continue to have until the season starts. Hey, great show. Great episode today. I have fun talking about it. Like I say, we're going to lay off the Tuesdays. Great. Question from the fans. Rein them in. I see a couple of good questions. The debate is kicked off about my Randy Moss take. But Somebody says, "What makes you a great? What makes a great wide receiver?" And then he follows by TC Smooth say route running, footwork, hands, and speed is part of it. I agree with that. I think another big part of it is work ethic, because it seems like the guy that works hard is the guy that's the most successful. One of the guys that work the hardest. And I think True Hero is a little off when it comes to football, or so to speak. But he said, if you mind comparing Hill versus D-Hop into NBA players. That's funny. So trying to think, comparing Tyreek Hill versus D-Hop would be like, that's tough.
D-Hop is Steph Curry. That's who D-Hop is. That's exactly who D-Hop is. And Cheetah, that's Russell Westbrook, except under more control. That's who he is. Think Russell Westbrook, except smarter. That's who Tyreek Hill is. A prime Westbrook. That's who he is. Absolutely, no doubt.
That's not a bad comparison. I like that.
Yep, that's who he is.
Cooper Kupp has to replicate this for me to be 1 or 2. I don't know about replicate, but if he shows some type of consistency, then I'm with it. If the Chief plays the Rams in the Super Bowl, who would have won? Uncle OG?
I think the Chiefs would have beat them, because I think that they would have taken advantage of the mistakes that Matt Stafford made. I don't think that Cincinnati took advantage. Like I told you earlier, I don't think that they took advantage of the mistakes that they made. We're talking about you dudes being in the red zone 3 times. And only 4 times, and only coming up with 1 touchdown. Patrick Mahomes is not going to be in the red zone 4 times against you dudes and only come up with 1 touchdown with Kelsey and Cheetah. It's not happening.
That's a great point. Patrick Mahomes going to force you to score the ball. I don't think the final score is 20-23 either. I think this game goes into the 30s if they play Kansas City. They're going to force you to throw the ball.
You got to score 23 ain't enough. If you're playing against Kansas City, that's not enough.
If Cooper Kupp has a better season next year than he had this year, where do you rank him all time? If Cooper Kupp wins the Triple Crown again and breaks the record for catches in a season, breaks Michael Thomas' record for catches in a season, which he came close to doing, and he breaks his own record for most yards in a single season, and breaks Randy Moss's touchdown record, he's top 10 all time. You got to consider him at least top 15 all time.
After year 6,
I don't give a damn if you do that.
Damn.
If he break Michael Thomas' record of 50 some catches, think about it. Breaks his own record of 20. What he had 2,300 yards this season. That's a record. And then he break Randy Moss' record of 16 touchdowns. In one season, man, you got to consider this man top 50. I don't care about that. This is 2 of the greatest wide receiver seasons of all time. When you get to talking about some shit that's never been done before, you got to start talking all time. On a consistent basis, you got to start talking all time.
Hey, let's get something clear. I do think that Jimmy Buckets is better than Jayson Tatum right now. Jayson Tatum is my favorite player under 25. Absolutely he is. But when I think about a complete basketball player, Jimmy Buckets is not anything flashy. But I'll tell you what he is going to do. He's going to give you 22. He's going to give you 6. He's going to give you 4. And he's going to give you 2 steals. And you're going to have your hands full with him all night long. And when you get into the playoffs, guess what else you're going to have? You're going to have a dog on your hands. And you're going to have a guy that's looking you right in your face and telling you, run with me because I got your back. Jayson Tatum ain't there yet. He getting there, but he ain't there yet. So let's just relax with this whole Jayson Tatum being so nice with the pill because, again, you already know how I feel about Jayson Tatum. He's my favorite player under 25. He ain't buckets yet. No, not yet. So let's relax on that.
I think Jaylen Brown may be better than Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum right now is averaging 25, 8, and 4, which is pretty good on 84% from the free throw line. He's shooting 32% from 3, which isn't terrible, and he's shooting 43% from the field. Yikes. But he's giving you 25, yeah. So I guess that's okay. Jimmy Butler right now is 21, 6, and 6, shooting 89% from the free throw line. He's shooting 20% from 3 and 50 and 49% from the field. So he's not
But
a great
buckets,
3-point shooter.
that's never been his
That's
game.
never been his
Never
game.
been
We
his
all know
game.
that about Jimmy G buckets. But if I
That's
had to
never been his
choose one
game.
right now, we see what's Miami 5th seed in the East? What's
No,
my
they tied for first with your boys.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, they tied for first with your
That's
boys.
true. That's definitely true. Yeah, Miami's number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference right now. Most of that has a lot to do with Jimmy Butler. Kyle Lowry's been in and out of the lineup. Bam Adebayo just came back like a month ago. Jimmy Butler's been holding it down, and these guys are scary, like especially defensively. So if I had to choose between one or the other for one season, I'm taking Jimmy Butler. But if I had to choose between one or the other going forward, I'm definitely taking Jayson Tatum. That's just how you slice the pie. I think J-Tay got a lot to learn still, but Jimmy Butler is ready. Like he's championship ready now. I wouldn't be surprised to see them boys representing the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. But let's get the hell out of here, Unc. I had a great show. Shout out to the loyals on YouTube. This show will be up on YouTube if you couldn't catch it live on Twitch every Friday, 8 p.m. Central for the time being. Unless we got something to talk about, we might pop up on a Tuesday on y'all just to say what's up, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever the case may be. But y'all know how we rocking. Shout out to the loyals over here on Twitch. W's in the chat if you enjoyed yourself. Y'all already know how we rocking. Take us home.
Take it light, but take it.
We out.